All right, looks like YouTube's live, Rob. If you want to, they're muted. So if you want
to. Facebook is live as well.
All right, I see Facebook is live. I see Facebook is live. I got that. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. As always, welcome to the PPD YouTube and Facebook live Tuesday night broadcast of tonight's should be an open mic night. I'm doing a couple little things on YouTube first. Give me just a second. We'll get the party started here. All right. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. YouTube should have just come online. So hello to you guys out there in YouTube land. There's at least 3 or 4 of you there for now, but we just got started live. So welcome to tonight's Tuesday night Zoom kind of get together. We do every Tuesday, we do something in Zoom. Tonight is a little different because next week, Robert and I are going to be going to, I need to mute my phone before it annoys the crap out of me. Next week, we're going to be going to the Transworld Christmas trade show over in St. Louis. So if you are going to be at Transworld, we have a booth. Please come and see us. We will be there live for 4 days. I have a class that I'm going to be teaching. Still have to prep for that, man. Crazy week. And also coming up is this week is the last week of the month, so we have the Guess the Sequence of the Month contest going to start here pretty soon. It's going to be a little hard to pull that off on the last day, so we'll figure out how that's going to work out. But for now, no webinar next week, so we're kind of doing a tips and tricks kind of webinar type thing tonight. But so tonight what I want to do is I want to go through a couple things with submodeling, but I'm not going to per se teach. But there's a fellow who had kind of put a bug in my ear a couple weeks ago about doing some submodels on a smaller high density arch. And I have a tendency that whenever I do submodeling, like my brain only thinks one certain way. And we had a lot of fun about must have been about a month ago, back in December, where we did one of these where we went live in Facebook and YouTube. And we did some live submodeling, and when we did this submodeling, it was on a giant snowflake that was made by, it was the IEII snowflake from Gilbert Engineering, and it kind of spurred a little discussion between me and John. John, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Marjorie, is that how you? I don't know how you spell it.
It's just Majiri, like the U is.
Majiri. Okay, I was close. I really try to get people's names right. That's a good one. So you got me on that one. But John came up with this this idea to do the arch, and I think he has some different ideas, because one of the things that is challenging. That's why whenever I posted the interesting parts of today whenever I noted what we're going to do today, I said I want people's impressions or opinions, because when we did that III flake, I got some great feedback while we were sitting here in the Zoom room. Now, that snowflake had like 1 billion pixels, okay? Absolutely over the top, right? And things like that really take a long time. But what I want to do today is I want to kind of touch into one of the props I think John has. John, do you have this one, or do you have another one from the other vendor from EFL?
I have 4 of these, and I have 2 from EFL.
Okay, so we're definitely gonna hit one. It all depends on what we do tonight. But whenever I was coming up with this idea, this was John's idea to kind of do this, and that's where it came from tonight. So when you guys have questions, and especially in the xLights group, and sometimes I don't see all the ones in the xLights group, so forgive me, because there's only 10,000 or 24.8 thousand members in the xLights group, because I don't see all those posts. If you're in the PPU Facebook group, I see those, and I usually, people ask good questions, and bam, it spurs something in me to want to talk about it, because if there's a question and we continue to go after it, then we can answer it. So that's where the first thing, though, I want to hit on tonight is because of Mark Williams. So hopefully Mark made it into, I think I saw him pop in a little bit earlier, but Mark asked a great question on Facebook. Let me pop over there real quick. I got the chat right here, the thing right here from it. He says, I want to add more submodels to the GE Grand Illusion. The submodel tab in xLights only shows it's a square grid, which makes it very difficult to draw. Is there a way to view this as an actual prop as it looks and draw on it? And that is a fantastic question. Whenever you're used to having something that uses the circle model, typically the circle model, so Boscoyo has a spinner, and I can also download the Grand Illusion and kind of show you the same thing. But whenever you're using a circle model and you go into the submodel dialog, the first thing that you're going to see, and it popped up over here, the first thing that you're going to see is you go and you add a submodel or click on a submodel and you double click on it, and now you see this plethora of numbers and rows. And now the Grand Illusion has even number of rows. The Mesmerizer from Boscoyo has an odd number of rows, but it's all because of the way they worked out the math to get the exact pinpoints on the model. So it's harder in some instances to create submodels, whereas you'd like to just draw on it. So the nice part about any submodel, especially a model that is not a custom model. So for example, most of these models that we do submodeling on are specifically a custom model. They're custom made for the exact prop that you're building. So in this instance, what a custom model would be, so this is for all of those people who don't know what a custom model is, really quick, any one of these models here that you see that have specific pixel placement, like these snowflakes or these small spinners here, or the PPD wreath here. These are custom models, and you can tell this by the icon that you see listed or shown over there right beside the name of the prop. Okay, the idea of a custom model is that you can create any prop that you want and load it into xLights. That's a whole different webinar. We have a whole class. You can look on the PPD YouTube page. We have a video on a number of videos on how to do custom models. But we talked about that in the past. But how do you create those submodels? Well, it's rather easy to do that. So if you do have the Grand Illusion, which I'll go and click the download button, we'll throw it in here. This is just off of the download. You can come in here and you can type the word Grand and search, and there's Grand Illusion. Boom, it comes right up. Insert model, and that's the Grand Illusion. Now, if you notice, you look at the Grand Illusion, you can see that because of the circle, it's a circle model, and that's how this model was created. So what Mark is experiencing whenever he goes in here and he looks at the submodels into the dialog, he clicks on one of these, and if he double clicks on here, now you have this perfect grid, and it doesn't make for the most simplest way to visually see what you're trying to quote unquote draw onto the model. So your easy workaround for this, the easiest workaround for this that you can absolutely ask for is to, let's see. All right, is to add another model here, and I'll just call this delete me. And I can't type whenever I'm under pressure, too much pressure. So what you can do, and specifically for you, Mark, this is as easy as you can make it to do submodeling. Now, I don't know what's going on with the preview screen here. This refresh doesn't seem to work very well. It hides the buttons in some instances. But in any event, you are able to, in this screen, you're able to do a couple of things. Number one, if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel and a clicky on the scroll wheel, so if you push on the mouse button, it can click, then you're in good shape. If you click on the mouse wheel, and you can like palm move the prop in the direction that you want it to go. If you scroll in, you scroll in and out on the scroll wheel, that scrolls it in and out. So it's really, that's really helpful. There's a way to do it with a mouse pad on your laptop. Don't ask me how to do it because I don't sequence on a laptop. But if you're creating a submodel all you have to do is just click and drag. And one of the rules about creating submodels is whatever submodel that you do create, the effect will always follow the path that you clicked and you dragged them out. So as you guys watch tonight, one of the things you'll notice is that I'm pretty methodical about how I create submodels, and the order from which you select those models or those pixels is the direction for which the effect is going to flow. So that's always important to kind of remember. John, I'm sorry, Mark, did that kind of answer the question for you? I hope that, there's a chat screen. I do have chat open up over here so I can see it if you have anything. Just let me know in chat. Actually, you can unmute your microphone if you want to. Do you have any other questions on exactly what to do in this screen, or do you need a little bit more info, or do we answer that for you?
I think you answered my question, if you can hear me.
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. So unfortunately on this computer, I don't even see that screen right there. I don't see the model in that pane, but this computer is kind of buggy on the graphics anyway.
Okay. Well, that's a good question then. So how old is the computer that you're using xLights on?
My main computer is probably 3 years old, so it's not too awfully old.
There's a bug on 23.1 about it.
Okay, well that's I'm on, so that's probably a bug. And then my older well, I guess that is no, but my other laptop, I see it just fine. But once I get this working, that works perfect. I didn't know you can do that right from that pane right there.
Well, that's certainly, Jeff, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had gone to 2023.1, and because I use the morph effect, one of the things that I utilize a lot is the morph effect, and there is no effects assist in it. Now, the nightly build, I guess the bug that was related to that had been already addressed, but I didn't download the nightly build. I just reverted back to the 2022.26 because there wasn't anything that I really needed in the newest version. So keep in mind, that's a good point, that whenever you're working with xLights, that you are, geez, I've been on YouTube all this time and I'm not even sharing the right screen. How bad is that? When you are out there trying to get some of these things to work, sometimes reverting to a different version of xLights can help. I'm pretty sure I noticed it a little bit ago, but I haven't checked my emails this afternoon, but somebody had an issue with one of the sequences not rendering, and I'm pretty sure it's related to the newer releases. It just isn't working for some people. So sometimes you have to revert back. You have to go certain places to a certain one just to get things to work again. And then as we identify these bugs, then we kind of fix them up. So YouTube, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this again for all those folks on YouTube that just kind of watched me talk the whole time. But what Mark was mentioning earlier was that he wanted to be able to access the grand illusion here. Let me go in and access the submodels here. And he wanted to be able to draw a submodel right on the screen. And to do that, I hit add here, and I called it delete me 2, and we just clicked in the space here, and you're able to click and drag, and everybody can see this now. So, but this is the simplest and fastest way for you to go in and begin adding submodels into any model that you have. And it doesn't matter whether it's a custom model, or it doesn't matter that it is a circle model, or it could be, I mean, it can absolutely be anything. It can be, you can use the DMX effect and create moving heads, and you create submodels in the moving heads. Might not be exactly the same, so you might have to do that a little bit differently manually, but for the most part, you can use submodels on any model, including the star. I might have done it here, as you can see. I filled in these points. I'll zoom in and you can look at them. There's point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, point. I was playing around one day and I just did that. Now I don't use them. There's the outer ring, and that's just something fun that I was messing around with because somebody asked the same question a couple years ago. So with that being said, I want to let's go ahead and delete the grand illusion. I don't really.
I'm not sure if you need that before you delete it. On the screen where you were clicking and dragging the pixels,
Mhm.
there's a button on the left that says draw mode. Is that tied to what you were doing? Does it have to be?
So draw mode was created by Scott, and if Scott was in here, he would be able to explain what draw mode was for. But I think draw mode was meant more for the other screen.
Okay.
I
So
think
you did not do anything with draw mode or need it?
no,
for it?
negative.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Scott actually rewrote the code so that you could create your submodels. Oops, I'm in the, what is this? States. I'm in the States. States works the same way. But if you click on a submodel, the way that it's designed, the way that they're set up, you don't need to use the draw mode. I'm pretty sure, and Scott by all means can correct me here because I never really used draw mode. I think you clicked on draw mode and then you just, that and it took that data and boom, it just made your submodel for you.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
I've never used it, so I can't speak intelligently about that. But I noticed that I clicked on it like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different times. So it created one individual line each time, I guess. I'm not knowledgeable on this, so I really.
It tries to make a buffer that's representative of where you drew. So if you drew a cross in the middle, it would then make the resulting submodel buffer in here the same size as like that cross.
Oh, okay. So are you saying that if I came in here and I hit draw mode and I went like, just like you said, across. Okay, so those are all on. It sees that as a whole model.
Yeah, so now when you hit OK, the resulting buffer here, it put the commas in there. Puts like the commas in here to make it so the buffer is that same proportions, basically. So now in theory, like if you were to put.
So if you put a, so wait, because this is interesting because this changes a lot of little things that
Yeah, so now like if you put a bars effect on there, it would go up and down that cross in theory properly.
So
or left to right as well.
I'll go you one better. I'm going to import. From our certified models, Boscoia Studio Arch. Where's the arch?
Yeah, my intent originally was for like matrices, so you could like, draw a shape on your matrix and then it would have the right render buffer.
There isn't an arch. Oh, that one.
There absolutely is an arch.
Yeah.
And I've beat myself to death trying to make this thing work pretty well. So basically, if I come in here and I have snowflake 1, this is a snowflake, right? If I recreate this snowflake, add SF1.
If you go back to snowflake, if you want to do this easier.
Oh, okay. How about, well, I'll tell you what, how about I copy it?
Yeah.
There, bam, there's a copy.
Well, what you can do is now if you hit draw model, it'll actually remember those, like in theory, and then now if you hit OK, you don't even have to do anything.
Oh, okay, so just duplicate it and click OK.
But then
And
now
so
it keeps the buffer size.
okay. So that really then converts it into new sequence animation done. Why does this have to be like this? There we go. Here we go. Let's open up the model preview and get rid of the house preview. T for timing. I'm not sure where this is in the list because I just added it. Right here. Okay, so if we double click on this, this opens it up. Should be the very last one, Snowflake C1. That was what we created. So if we put a bars effect on here, it's now going to run the bars right over top of it like it should, as opposed to a single line model, which is what we've created in the past. So in essence, using the draw function allows you to create a model out of create a model and sequence a model as a submodel, as a submodel as a model.
And if you wanted to see another feature that pretty much does the same thing, because I keep reiterating on the same concept, if you go back to the submodel, if you go back to the original one,
Okay.
and just copy it,
Copy.
and call it whatever. So there's this buffer style option that no one knows what it does. If you do keep XY, which is, this will actually also keep the locations. So instead of making a new buffer that's just a single line, this will actually keep the original XY locations over here. So in theory, if you hit OK, you should get the same effect. You might call a liar out of me or something, but
No, this is rather helpful because there are a lot of submodels out there. Yep, and it does. Works absolutely brilliantly. Great work, Scott. Great work.
yeah, it's kind of like I did the draw and then I was like, well, I wanted to make different buffer styles.
No, well, so the challenge has always been you can like for example, this thing, so we're talking about tonight, we're talking about doing submodeling on different models on models that we've never created before. But what we're actually kind of picking up and learning is, okay, well, if you want to sequence a model, a submodel, as if it were its own model, which has always been an issue or a challenge, this is the way that you solve it. And I had no idea until tonight. So
yeah, the keep XY is like under the hood kind of does like a per preview type. So that was my thought, is if you wanted to have like a spinner or something and you want a submodel that was like per preview where it would do an explosion, like if you wanted to just do the arms and then you wanted it to actually work right with an explosion like per preview, that's what that keep XY is kind of like.
Well, I know that some of these, especially on this model, so this model is very, anything that's less than like 50 pixels or less, your submodels will always work. Like, it's not like they won't work, but the smaller a prop is. So for example, these smaller spinners, they work just fine. They're great little spinners. They're a 22-inch spinner. This is a 40-inch spinner. Or 46-inch spinner. You're going to see the look of the pixels, the movement of the pixels far easier on that one versus on than you do on this one. It's not going to appear as fluid because the model's not as big or doesn't have as many pixels for it to dissipate the effect across, right? So the more density you have, the better the effects typically or generally will look, and it's only because there's more pixels, right? But what happens is that when we have a prop that's similar to this, so if you take this and move this down here and kind of look at, well, how big is this snowflake that's here, which is kind of hard to see. Let's see. Yeah, that didn't help. When you compare, okay, grabbing things with the polyline. There we go. I'll put it right here. So just looking at, there we go. That's the best I can do. Looking at that spinner versus that snowflake, they're about the same size in this image, but in reality, that's probably, I don't know, 10 inches wide that actual snowflake is. But you still now you can have, and a good example, another good example of this would be, oh goodness, let's see if I can import it. Import, oops. And we'll go find it in mine. I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay, so cancel that. Let's go import. Right click, import. Import models and go find it in my layout. Okay, so I have a lollipop here somewhere. Spinner lollipop. There we go. We'll bring that little guy in. And there he is. He's way over there. Okay, so my biggest issue was I had this little tiny lollipop. This thing is like 4 foot tall. But whenever I created the submodels for it, what I needed to do was I needed to create this addition, this per preview buffer. And so I imagine Jeff sitting on here. He's just shaking his head right now because this is going to be a lot of work, because we're going to have some updating to do for all of the submodels that are now in these certified models, because this changes a lot, doesn't it, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah. because now you can say, oh, okay, well, let me go and look at my submodels that are in my spinner here. Reset. Where'd it go? Cancel. I know you're there. Submodels. Reset. Well, there we go. I put the spokes in, so those are the arms. And I put the ring in, well, the center ring. The outer ring is the one I really use more. But the spinner as a submodel, this actually needs to be set up as what you would say, change this to an XY, click OK, save. And now my spinner actually acts like and I got to go into display elements and add it in here. Should have hold control down. Bring it over here. I don't know where it's at. Go ahead, take that off of there, and we'll scroll up to here. We'll close out of this. Spinner lollipop, if we open that up, double click on that, that should open it up. And we went to the spinner submodel and we put the bars effect on it, and now it should act as if it's a model. If we put the pinwheel effect on there, if you were in the class last week, you learned about a bunch of shortcut keys. That's what I'm hitting here. So you can make this a little thicker. Let's see, thicker. Oh yeah, that's way better. That is way better. Thank you, Scott. Huge thank you to Scott. Just rocking the world out there. Isn't he, Jeff? Isn't he, Jeff? Jeff is going to be busy, aren't you, Jeffy?
It's only been in there for like a year, so he could
Well,
have known about it a while ago.
Well, it's with everything that happens, I mean, I'm not surprised. There's things that go into xLights that I don't learn about initially, but I'm fine with learning because, hey, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah,
So,
I want to add more types, I guess, of what I call buffers in there, but there's 3 in there. One of them is kind of, one's the default, and then there's a third one that I call overlay, I think. I don't remember exactly what I called it.
I apologize for the ignorance, but what do you mean types of buffer?
That's a good question. Scott, do you want to answer that?
Well, I guess what a lot of people don't know with submodels is So underneath the hood in xLights, there's some classes you can take, but everything is a 2D matrix. So like when you have a single line, it's a little boxes, and this is what I've been referring to as the buffer. So when you have like a bunch of lights, and when you render effects, this is how it renders. So everything under the hood is kind of like a 2D matrix, even a single line. So when you draw something in the submodel dialog and you have multiple rows here, it actually makes each row as a line in this buffer. So, and each node you put in there is then a line in the buffer. So if you have 3 nodes like this, that's going to be a 1x3 buffer. Sorry, I'm drawing a lot here. But, and that's how a standard submodel is by default. So if you were to put a single line effect or an on effect or a bars, it's going to render these 3 nodes in your matrix or in your model as a 1x3 buffer. So if you do like a bars effect with 3 colors, it'll put the 3 colors on there. Even though on the model itself, it's on an angle here, it's still going to render it as a 1x3 horizontally.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what the buffer, and if you do like a star, you can go to your node layout and it'll show the buffer. So default is it makes a grid on here, and that's why you can add rows, and that's why I added different types. Is the keep XY now actually keeps these positions. It doesn't put them in a boxes. So, and then there's a third one that's called I think it's overlay. I don't remember exactly what I called it. Stacked strands. Yeah. So with this one, the last one, I don't know how useful it is, but if you made 3 rows, when it renders, it assumes those 3 rows are on top of each other. So if you wanted to make like a spinner was my thought, and all the arms are on top of each other, then it would like make an explosion kind of like look.
So I know we did in the PPD wreath, we did do that. Let's, I'm pretty sure we did that with the spirals. Yes. So this is the buffer that is drawn. And in other words, basically it's a single line. And it's drawn in the order of which those pixels are selected, and that's, as I said earlier. So all we've done here is we've added some extra rows. We've created one submodel basically right here. Like we have, this is one submodel, and then we've created another by adding another row, and then we added another row and we added this submodel. Then we added another row and did this one. Then we did another one here. So what you're saying is if we duplicate this CW1 and we change this to stack strands, now it's going to look at this. How is it going to look at this?
This is basically going to now just be a single strand with all the nodes on top of each other. So underneath the hood, it'll be a 1 buffer by however long, but when it goes to render this first one, it's going to be all these nodes. So if you wanted to put like a single strand effect, which it doesn't really help you much because a single strand would put all of them the same either way. But
Right. No, I'm tracking you.
There's not a ton of usefulness to it, but it basically squashes it to a single line. So then now maybe if you wanted to do the ripple effect or shockwave, instead of being a shockwave, it would just be 2 points on the line of all of them.
Okay.
But, yeah, that one's kind of pointless a little bit, but I was just trying to get, initially I just wanted the 2 and I was like, well, I need to add more to make this seem more useful.
Well, have you been able to determine how to create a render style that can activate these individual strands differently than they're currently being done now? Because how the buffer sees these is different than how it sees an individual one of these. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it depends.
So everybody out on YouTube and Facebook, first of all, this is like the next level like stuff that I don't get because it gets so mathematically technical that somebody like Scott, he's going to have the answers because I don't do this stuff.
Well, this is the kind of the thing I was attempting to solve. Like the classic thing is you always put a group of all of your petals, let's say.
Mm-hmm. That's correct, yeah.
And then when you render that, it's doing per preview under the hood. So the default render styles per preview. So in theory, if you didn't want to do that, you could, make one just called petals, put them all in there, and then do the keep XY, and it would have your per preview. And you wouldn't need that group. But you then at that point lose the capability to do other, model render styles, which is kind of I was trying to solve one problem, but it's not as great as the other solution.
Right.
Because you lose those other render styles.
Right. So in other words, what you're saying is being able to put all of these stacked, and I call this stacked. People don't understand whenever I say this, but I call this a stacked submodel. I've stacked one layer over top of another over top of another. Yeah. This is common for people like us to create simple matrix panels for like a tune 2 sign. So we do this quite frequently. But whenever I built this initial model, it doesn't work in some instances the way that I really think that it should work. Not that I'm complaining, but it would be really nice to be able to find additional uses. Again, I don't know what that means or how, but what more could it do if it could do something? Are there other things that it could do if I could access it a little differently? And just to spread the effects over it and give it a different look. And that's what I've been asking Scott to do. And so
that's the thing I like. I want a way where you could do a model like this, and then in the sequencer change the render styles for a submodel. Like submodels could have different render styles. So you could do like the one I've mentioned to you many a times is like a per strand type render style, or like a layered render style. Like I know you love your layered star,
mm-hmm.
where you could then have a render style where maybe it would just go up these rows as layers, and then you could change that in the sequencer.
That would definitely be helpful. So what Scott is talking about here is, and I got to go find a star here.
Because right now you can change those buffer styles in the submodel, but yeah, you still need multiple sub buffers or multiple, submodels for different buffer styles. But if you could have one submodel that then you could change render styles and do things.
So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about render styles. A star. So Scott spent a lot of time doing this. This is on. I'm actually doing this on the wrong one. Let me go to the right one. Tree line. I think it's on here. All stars. Yeah, that works. So whenever you have a group, I have a group of pixel pulse stars right here, and I put the bars effect on them. So it's doing what you think it naturally should do. So I've put a little fade on that. And what Scott spent the time to do is he created 2 new render styles so that the effects will render differently depending if you have a star model. So xLights can now determine if there's a star model inside of a group, and if it finds a star model, it will utilize the
that's a custom model.
Is that a custom model?
I assume so, because it's not working.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it should work. Should work. Reset. What if we change it to expand now? Well, maybe it's broken this version. Well, there it works. So in any event, usually the per model horizontal per strand, the lower ones here, these 2 here are usually the ones that do something rather interesting. That's the first time I've seen it not work. I wonder if it's the effect, or let's try a different effect. Yeah, so let's try a different effect. Yeah, so it's the effect. Doesn't like bars. So there's something for you to look at, Scott. Sorry, didn't mean to give you any more work.
Yeah, because I guess I like when I sequence, I like to do like the explosion thing or the in and out look. So if you do, I think the other one in theory now with a single line will do.
Yeah. So this is what's nice about it is you can have a simpler way to do certain things, especially with the single strand effect is a rather powerful effect too. It's probably my number one non-matrix effect that I use most of the time, just because it's ridiculously versatile. And spoiler alert, Kevin Mojek, if you're in here, he's considering doing some crazy kind of stuff for me again on the single strand effect. So
Yeah, and with that group too, if you add like a circle or a layered arch,
oh,
those
absolutely.
also have layers in them, so then they'll pulse
Absolutely.
like that. So that was kind of my concept when I was working on it.
Absolutely. And because the star model and the circle model are basically rather similar built under the hood, is that correct?
Not really.
No,
No.
they have the same characteristics though, with a stacked layer.
They
Kind
have,
of like the arches. The arches are the same way too.
yeah, I actually added it to the arches. Like a layered arch, if you go to a layered arch now, it has a concept of strands.
Right. So if you click on an arch and you want to create a layered arch, let's say you want to do Chuck, I don't know if he's in here tonight. He has layered arches with 5 layers. That's awesome. But you can build that in xLights. You can come in here, go to arches. We can have one arch. Let's see. It's been a while since I've done this. Layered arches, click the checkbox. How many layers? You can have 5 layers. And you have to open up and extend this and say how many pixels are in each layer. 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. Oop. And now you have this layered arch that works the same way. If I take this arch and I add this, add selection to existing group, pixel pole star, pixel pole stars. Click OK, save, go back in here, click off, click on, and there you can see how it renders across it. And that's all because of the work that Scott put into it. So, which is amazingly helpful. That's fun.
Yeah, and you can do it. And then when you're a lazy sequencer like me, you can use it with the VU meter, and then it'll just pulse like that all the time. And then
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
then you can do half your sequence like that, and you call it good.
So well, that was far more than I was expecting to bring to the table tonight. All I wanted to do was just draw a couple of submodels, but you know, I got schooled tonight, so I hope everybody got something out of it. So by the way, YouTube, Facebook, if you like what we're doing, hit the like button, please. We appreciate that. Share the video too. It certainly is getting the word out there, because our Zoom calls are getting a little bigger. They're starting to grow. How many's in here tonight? Oh, we've got 38 plus in here. So that's good. And then a bunch on YouTube right now, a bunch of everybody on YouTube. I don't even see Facebook. So in any event, I guess we should get right back to what we actually were going to do tonight, which was doing some more submodels. Scott, thank you so much for walking us through that. That was just, you know, little things like that. So you never learn xLights all in one sitting. And I've been doing this since 2014. Well, I've been using xLights since 2013. 2014, I got the alpha copy before it was a program where you just clicked on the icon and installed it, and that was all it did. And it's vastly different. I don't know how easy it would be. That'd be a fun video. Go back and try and sequence in xLights back from 2015, which is a totally different. It would be way different. It'd be way different. I bet you I could do it though. But in any event, I do want to get into the model that we're going to work with tonight, which is, and let me go grab the page where you can find this. So I know this. I know it's a $12 spinner at this point in history. This is January 24th, 2023. This little guy here, he's from Boscoya Studios. It's called the Arch-Filled Spinner. The actual name of the model, which is different. If you see the thumbnail on this video, it's a little different. This is a basic spinner. It's nothing fancy. It does have 231 pixels in it. It is 19 and a half inches tall by 38 inches wide. So 38-inch wide. It's a kind of a mini arch. 38 inches. It's still rather big though. I mean, you could take two of them, put them together, and make a mini spinner. for 38 inches wide and such. But when I downloaded this, and I'll download this real quick. Again, this is because John had inspired me to want to do this. So we want to go find arches. I typed it in before, it didn't come right up, but here we have a couple of the different arches. I'm just going to click through and look for the picture. And there it is. That's the small fan arch. Same thing. 231 pixels. We'll insert the model. And if we look at the model, it is a custom model. Now, as you just saw, we could sit here and we can make this. I was actually going to show you this tonight anyway, but you can create this model in xLights using the arches model. But to do that, you just need to count the pixels. So you have, and then you'd have to set up how you're going to wire it. The nice thing about this model, though, is the model's already created and it's easily shared. Whereas if you make your own, it's always better to buy the item, look for the model that's already created by in the model downloads, or if you use like our PPD certified models, the certified models certainly have. We use the same ones from the download. We just enhance them with added groups that we sequence with, so it makes it easier for you to map sequencing to from when we do a sequence for the monthly club members. But more than that, this model is rather simple in its build. So what I want to do, we'll go ahead and open it up, and you'll notice right away that all of the submodels are created for each individual arch. So if you were going to, let's say, sequence this as an arch, what you would do is you would take each one of these arches, and you might take those arches and put them in your arch group. So each one of those arches would become one arch that would go inside that arch group. So you could always do that, right? That's not an issue. So now you have those arches, right? Now the other submodels that you have, we'll go through them real quick. Oh, that's states. Oops. Second time I did that. The next ones that there are, and they're kind of out of order on the website, on the download. And it does make some sense to put some of these in order, but you have 1, 2, these are, and I don't know, Scott, is there something going on with the refresh for the screen for the submodels where the pixels are so tiny?
I don't know.
Because that's been an issue every once in a while. Like, it was nice and they were much larger before, but now
It's the pixel size of the prop.
I thought that too, but it didn't do that earlier. I mean, those are pixel size.
I'll just say this, since the issue came up, what I've noticed about it is that they'll be small for a while, and all of a sudden xLights
No.
will stop for a second, and then they'll get bigger, almost like some preview of something else had control of the colors and sizes of the pixels and then got garbage collected. I don't know, and left the submodel dialog in charge. But I just haven't managed to corner what's going on there. But all of a sudden it'll pause and
There.
they'll be bigger.
So I just increased the size, just like Jeff said. So I made it a 3 pixel count size instead of 2 pixel count, or size 2 versus size 3. But no, I agree, Chuck. That's exactly what I was experiencing too. But it was almost like something else was in control of the whole thing, and next thing you know, it's like not. Then it pops and it works like normal. So one of the things that I noticed about this model, and this is why it's important for you to look at the models that are in the download. Now, I am never going to fault anybody for making a mistake on a model, on a submodel. The challenge is that if you have a model that has 230 pixels on it or 150, it takes time to click these out and to create these. Okay, so keep in mind that it's a lot. It's not just this simple thing like our favorite designers like James at Boscoya, or you've got Jackie at EFL, you've got Jason at Gilbert Engineering, and they're good at what they do, and they totally get this whole, this is how you build a model. I can cut this out and punch this in Coro. but I'm not making fun of them, but they may not be the best people to create the model in xLights, because we are, me as a sequencer, I use the software all the time. There are other people that work in the layout tab all the time. They're far better at, they may be, I don't want to take anything away from them. They do have skill, but their skill lies in something where our skill lies in something different. I'm not going to go punch Coro, I promise you, because I have no idea how to do that. However, I can come in here and I can open up these models and I can say, look, these are kind of out of order. Now, luckily, I think, did Scott, did you do this, or did David Preem do this, where you can click and drag these around and put these in order? So you can always do that. It's a little odd how it works.
You can sort it.
What's that?
You can sort it alphabetically.
Can you? Oh, right click. Look at that. Sort by name. That's even
Yeah, I
better.
added the sort button, but I think the drag was actually done by someone else. He helped on it for a little while. I don't remember his name.
And that number 7 had an extra space in it, so that kind of fixes that. But you can see now, if you just click right through them, you can see the arches are in order. And if they're in order by the way that they were created, or so somebody started in the center and they went outward. And then if you open up somebody else's model, maybe they started on the outside and went to the inside. It's luck of the draw. So there's always a hats off to the person who initially made them. And it's not that they did anything wrong, it's just how they made them. So that's one of the reasons why we go and we created the certified models, was because we went in, and if there were things that didn't flow exactly in the same direction for all of them, let's say ray number 1 here started at this end and flowed inward, and then you got to ray number 2 and it started on the inside and flowed outward. Whenever you put your effects on it, it may not look the way that you expect it to look. So we went through and we spent some time, well, Jeff spent a lot of the time kind of fixing things like that. But again, it's not like they were broken. It's that people didn't know that there were certain inaccuracies to creating those submodels and those buffers and so forth. So with that being said, one of the other things too that some folks might not be aware of, whenever you're working with a model or you're doing something in xLights, and everybody always says, why does this person have to create this model? Why does this spinner have 231 pixels? Well, why can't they use a round number? Well, the sad news is that whenever you're creating something, sometimes the math doesn't work out. And I'm going to kind of point this out to you real quick. You see, notice how this is one full straight line here, but then if we, where did my little annotate little thing go? Here we go. Let me put it over here. Let me stop annotating. And then if we click on this one here, notice that now this line only has this many pixels. Well, in the real world, unfortunately, I need to go find the actual picture. If you look at the picture of this model here, I don't think you can get 2 more rows this close together without cutting in between them. So this is one of the reasons why sometimes pixels get so close together, but you don't want to have a dark space. So what the creator will do is they'll kind of cut down the lines. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just not 100% even across the board. But that doesn't really matter, because you can still utilize that. And as I'm going to show you here in a second, you can see the difference between these 2 models and how they might be useful in different sequencing aspects. So for example, it looks like all of the even ones are short and all of the longer ones are the odd numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a group real quick. Annotate clear drawings. And what I want to do is I know that the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, I just have to know that the evens are the big ones. So I'm going to click OK. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this group here, and I'm going to scroll down and look for the even rays. And if you're on a Mac, I don't know how you do this. You have a command button. I'm going to use the control button. I'm going to hold the control key down on my keyboard, and I'm going to select all of the even ones. And I'm going to go down through this, and scrolling down with my mouse, scroll wheel on my mouse. I really dislike this sometimes because it gets in the way whenever you're trying to do this. And I'm holding the control key down and I'm scrolling with the scroll wheel on my mouse. And if I right click, I can add selections to existing groups. So because I see these HD arches sometimes as spinners. They're half spinners to me. And so that's commonly what I like to do with them, is I commonly like to put them in and wrap them into a spinner submodel set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw them in here into the spinner groups. I have a couple different spinner groups. I have a spinner big arms group. I'm going to throw them into that. And if I come over here, let's see, and we go click on the new master and we scroll down to the spinner big arms and we put a single strand effect. This is how we test out our submodels. This is the submodels here. And the way that you test them out, and what we're testing for is we're testing to see that the direction of the pixels have been selected correctly and that they flow in the direction that we want them to. So in this instance, this is like a shock wave that you send from the bottom of the arch to the top of the arch. So that's one instance, one useful instance for testing your submodels. Now I added it to the group so you can see these are the spinners. If I had the whole house preview up here, reset, and I pop this up here, you could see the same things going on the bigger spinners up here, and that's, you know, that's the way they're set up. So there's that. Now, what about the small ones? So we have this whole set of small spinners, the small smokes, that are the evens. And what can you do with those? Well, when we sequence on the PPD Pro layout, I have a small spinner arm that I do different things with sometimes. It's a way for me to just activate the effects on a different prop that is not getting what the big spinner arms are doing. So there I've selected those, control and clicked on them and scrolled up and down. I'm going to add these selections to an existing group. I'll scroll down to spinner small arms, spinner small arms. There we go. We'll add it to the small arms group. We'll click save. We'll go back into the sequencer tab. And so see how I have spinner big arms. Those are the big arms there, and going on the big spinners there, you can see them. And then if we move this down, now you can see the small arms are working on the small one. And those all appear to have been built correctly. So this is when we do a certified model, this is what we're checking for. So we spend the time to put them in a group and then run the single strand effect over to make sure that they look right. And then you can see the same thing happens here with the small ones. They're doing the exact same thing. And again, as I said earlier, one of the reasons why sometimes the effects don't look as good or don't appear as nicely is because the more pixels you have in a prop, the easier it is for it to display the effect. Whenever you have a smaller prop, it appears to go maybe a little bit slower, but it's only because it's traveling the same distance, it's doing the same thing. It just doesn't have as many pixels to render it out on. So that definitely works. That's a good idea for you guys that are out there. One of the models, the submodels that I really liked on here, and I'm going to point it out real quick, is this border. I really like this, and I'll tell you why I like this. Because the border, if you think of a window frame or you think of a matrix, think of a matrix or a window frame. One of the things one of the effects that we have had added into xLights is the marquee effect. Now, I think I need to go back to the new master. Let's go in there because I think that's where it's at down here. Spinner lollipop. We don't need that open. Oscoyo flake. Oh, did we bring it over? Oh, I don't think we brought it over. We'll bring it over. Boscoyo fan arch. So there it is. Getting a lot tonight. There's a lot here there's a lot to go over. So, but we've just added the model to this screen so that I can work on it. Now, one of the things that I like is that the border is an actual straight line. Whenever you look at this buffer, as Scott was trying to explain earlier, if we look, you can kind of get an idea of what the buffer looks like if you click on the effects assist. I think we'll do it. Maybe it won't. I'm not going to do it. That's okay. Well, maybe I need to put an effect on it like that. Yeah. So that's what the buffer looks like for this model. It's here's a pixel, here's a pixel, here's a pixel, here's a pixel, and it's going from left to right in the order that they were selected on, right? So I'm gonna just get rid of that because we don't need it. But it kind of gives you an idea what the buffer looks like. What I can do though is I can come up here with the marquee effect, which is right here, and click on the marquee effect. And you can see, let's change this to red and black. There we go. And just the default, just the xLights default puts the marquee effect on this so that you can have the marquee effect run over top of the arch. And I think that's a really, really cool thing that you can do with it. Another thing that you could do, you could consider like the border, maybe the spinner outline. You could put that in the spinner outline group and have some interesting pops to it. But I think what I want to do now is I want to bring John in here. John, are you hanging out still?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here.
All right, good. Because this is where everybody else is going to come in. Because again, in my head, I see this as a spinner, as I just demonstrated to you. That's how I typically would create a submodel. But John had a couple good ideas that are a little bit different than what I've gone over. So John, would you care kind of sharing exactly some of the submodels that you think would look good if we were to add them to this?
Oh, geez. Let's see. I don't want to take credit for all of this because most of these submodels were submodels that were already on other fan arches or other props, and I wanted to utilize them from different sequences on this prop. So I had to try and duplicate whatever the submodels were in some of the larger, like the Big Da fan and the EFL fan arch and the Spin Archie Elite, and there's so many different ones like that. And I wanted to utilize some of those submodels, so I had to go in and create the submodels myself, which now you had shown earlier about drawing around the pixels to select them. But when you're trying to be a little bit more specific and careful, and you want to make sure you get them in the right order, I usually double click on them to select them so that I make sure that I'm selecting the pixel that I want to select.
Right. So if you were going to draw one out, let's say you were going to draw one out, what would be the first one that you're looking at that you see that we haven't already covered?
There's snowflake ones that we put in, like if you wanted to get snowflake arms. So that was from a different now I got to remember how I created them. You're putting me to the test.
I am.
Yeah,
I put you on the spot.
the EFL Big Da fans have the snowflake submodels in them.
Right. And I
Yeah.
have those too. And I have two of those that I added this year. But before I had those two, I only had the 4 of these small arches, and I wanted them to perform the same type of things. So I added the snowflake arms, I added diamonds, I added the stars that I think I first saw utilized in I don't know if it was RGB sequences, did a sequence and had the stars. There was like 3 stars in the center of it. To recreate them now, I mean, I don't know. Do you have my X model there?
The one that you sent me earlier tonight?
Yeah, if you just wanted to bring that in and show
Yeah.
there's a ton of submodels in there. Some of them may not be useful. Some of them I may even built after watching and seeing how Scott was describing stuff and I may have even built them wrong. So I may need to correct them now that I got a bit of more of an education. And
Well,
maybe that And they-
That's good. I'm downloading it right now. So let me download it, and because we get to there's more to this, and this is why I didn't download it and do this already. I didn't do a lot of prep for this tonight because of this reason, because as we go through stuff, you end up getting some interesting things back from it. So I'm going to come over here. We'll put it beside it. Oh, wait, crap. I pushed the wrong one. Import. We're importing, not downloading. Import, and I'm looking for the download. And here it is. There you go. So there's your version of the exact same model. So these are identical. They're the same thing. The only difference is that the first one is the one that I imported from the model download from the Boscoia website. This one is the one you sent me through Facebook Messenger. So we'll go ahead and open it up, and we'll see exactly what you're talking about. So it looks like you sorted them. You already took.
Yeah, and it has all the original ones.
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't take anything out.
Border, and so these are, so when you created the arch group, you could, so you stacked. Like I said, I call this stacking. You stacked the arches on top of each other.
Right. Well, what
Having one.
initially what I did was and I probably didn't need to do this, but I started this whole process probably last year or the middle of last year, and whatever. Some of the vendors were using the triple arches and I kind of tried to make the arch model to follow that, and they called it arch, but it was really a triple arch. Then another vendor called it arch trio, but it was kind of the same thing, but I think it looked different the way the numbering was, so I kind of matched the arch trio to whatever somebody called the arch trio. I mean, at the end of the day, I ended up with a whole lot of submodels, and some of them are very vendor specific. But and it took a long time to create all of these just by double clicking and
So when you were doing them, were you doing them on this screen here?
no, right in the screen where you were before, because you can
Okay. So
you can double click right there if you
so if I add another line, I can double click from right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's new. I didn't know that. I was used to doing this.
Yeah.
A lot of this.
Well,
Thanks
I
to
mean,
Scott.
That's great. That's great if you're going to try and get like a big swath. But if you want to make sure that you're specifically going in the order that you want, I think double clicking might actually be easier,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you double click it again, it goes away. So if you make a mistake, you just double click it again and it turns it off.
So there's another thing I did not know. I would just only knew it as the click and drag. Scott or Jeff, did you know that?
Nope.
No.
But I always have trouble. So the pixel size thing I figured out the other day because I was having the same problem where it's real small and it would get real large after you kind of mess with it a little bit. So I updated all of my layout to pixel size.
How
3.
true that is in life. How true that
You were clicking and dragging over individual pixels. Doesn't the shift click and drag still select multiples?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So how I standard make a submodel. Oops. And if I screwed that up, I'm holding the shift key that deletes them. So if I want a big sloth of them, like he says, you can just click and drag. But if you want to get rid of them,
do you have any control whatsoever on the order in that?
You don't. You have no control. xLights assigns it assigns the order, and as best as I can figure out, and Scott, please correct me if I'm wrong, it takes the top one, and then it takes the left one, the most left one, and makes that the first one. And if it's not, if they're all perfectly in the same row, then what it will do is it'll take the lowest number and it'll go from low to high if they're all in the same row. And so it'll do it numerically and then left to right. That's just how it will do it. xLights will build, it'll be like a buffer. It'll see it as it was built.
And that's why you have to do it one by one, highlight them
Yeah.
in an order selection that you want.
Right.
Which is why double clicking is so much more specific and better to, at least for me anyway.
Mhm. Well, so I mean, where this came from was 3 years ago, and this is what I asked for it. Boy, did I ask for it. Well, that's whenever I realized that submodels really needed to be double clicked on. Not that I wanted to do this, but Keith, I asked Keith about, well, I need to be able to click on the submodel and build it one at a time. And he's like, okay, well, so he created this ordered selection, and you see how you have this line here, and as you double click on these numbers, you just double click on them over here. Well, now you can see, I mean, this is a really, really tiny thing to see on the screen. And whenever you have such a big model, now they added a lot of function to this. Boy, this is really going through the history of all this stuff. But you can hold the shift key down and scroll with your scroll wheel on your mouse. It's really, really helpful. So you could scroll exactly to the pixels that you wanted to, and then you could scroll up and down. That would take you, and if you hold the shift key, you'd scroll left and right. And if you had this gigantic model that had all of these squares, the custom models, because they're so massive, it made it much easier for you to navigate quickly through here and to find the pixels that you were looking for and to double click on them. So this was the original lifesaver. Prior to this, what I was doing was in order to create a submodel, what I would have to do, and the PPD wreath is where it came from. I had to right click and do a wiring view, or no, I did a wiring view, and I printed this. I had this printed out and sitting beside me, and I blew it up. I printed on like 4 pieces of paper, and it's stretching out. I don't know why it's doing that, but in any event, I took the time to find the numbers and put the numbers in order. And once I realized, oh, it doesn't go in numerical order, it goes in location order, I would start writing down my numbers, and then I would type them in. I'd come over here, submodels, and I'd physically go to the new submodel that I created, and I would type it in. And that was a lot of work. That was a lot of work typing individual submodels in. And then Keith's like, well, I'll just add this double click thing to you. And so that helped immensely when we started doing the Mesmerizer. Of course, I was still learning, and the Mesmerizer was another project that was just a massive one. So that was 2 days worth of work on both of those each. So submodeling is fun. It's there's a lot to learn for it, but it does take time. I'm sure John will agree. Because he knows firsthand on that.
Insane amounts of time and a lot of clicking, and my finger was killing me. So
yeah, after a while, you have to take a break. So John, you created the arch, you created this arch trio. So you called it 2 different things.
Well, because 2 different vendors, one just called it arch, one called it arch trio, and then I noticed that they were built different. So this particular sequence vendor had a thing called Arch Trio. I don't remember who it was, one of the sequences I had, and they created it as a single line as opposed to the other one, which was 3 separate lines. And I don't know why they did it. Obviously now I do, because I realize all this stuff is how it's going to render and all that other kind of stuff. But when I was actually building it, I had no idea, but I was just following what I saw.
Yep. Yeah. So, okay, this is interesting. So you put a matrix in down here?
Yeah, that most of those large fan arches have a matrix section. The spin arch elites have it up in the top section because it's where it's more dense.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have it in the bottom section. I chose to put it there so that you could run like an image. It doesn't look exactly like but it's pretty good. I mean, you could put a decent image on there and it shows up pretty well. It's a little distorted because it's rounded, but it's not bad.
So following along with what we've learned from Scott already today, if we copy or duplicate this, holy cow, boy, you went nuts. All right, man. Wow. Good for you. So if we do what Scott said earlier, which is we create a copy of that matrix submodel and we go and give it a keep XY coordinate, and then that turns it into a physical screen that you can now sequence on.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that definitely I picked up. I'm going to have to go through and change some of these in that fashion because that'll probably make it a lot more predictable, obviously.
And so to be sure, Scott, if I draw this out, if I'm clicking and dragging up in draw mode, let's say I do draw mode, and it remembers this. So if I click this and click OK, it's going to build all of those little commas are building up. And because that's even the model right there. You can see that's all the pixels and stuff. That's rather neat. I really never messed around too much with this. That's kind of neat to see it that way. But how everything's kind of spread out and stacked up, and it creates a physical, like what you're trying to create, what you were trying to create, a matrix. That's rather cool. Okay, so what else did you go off the deep end? Because you went off the deep end, man.
Yeah, well, way off the deep end. You have the snowflake spokes. If you want to see the snowflake spokes, those are,
Okay.
I mean, they kind of look like I don't
Mhm.
know, almost like a trident, but has a little extra stuff.
So no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Let's oh, I don't think I saved that other one. Darn it. Let me go back in and save that. Did I? No. Stupid Clyde. Matrix. Copy. Matrix 1. We're going to keep XY. We're going to draw a model. We're going to click OK. And we'll click OK and we'll save it. And now we'll go over here. And what was this? What did you call yours?
Boscoyo,
Small
fan arch 2.
Okay,
Yes.
well, you left it the same name. You
Yeah,
left it the
yeah.
same name. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's go into display elements. Let's bring it over. We'll put small fan arch 2 below small fan arch 1. And we will open it up. And let's go put a
Got to go to all the way at the bottom, right?
oh my goodness. Oh, my finger's gonna fall off by the end of the night. Yeah, look at all this. Boy, that's great, man. That's great. So I needed help. Actually, John sent me all this, so I guess I don't need help. Well, I guess I could use some help. So let's put the butterfly effect on here. That'll be the one that looks most reasonable. Let's get the palette on there and put 3 colors on there. So there's your green, black, and your red, and there you go. So now you have that matrix. You can go in and you can adjust your matrix. Well, we're just gonna go through and double check all your models and make sure they're all good. But in any event, we can. You've already done a lot of the hard work, but if we just go review them, we can see what all you did. So let's go back in submodels, go in here. And you did spinners. So you called these spinners, spinner 0, 1 through 23. So you did it. You basically made a duplicate of the rays.
Yeah, I renamed them just because I thought, yeah, that's probably something that I didn't realize when I was doing it. I just wanted to, consciously call them spinners. So I would, because Ray just wasn't doing it for me because it didn't really click in my mind, but it's the same. So theoretically, I just did copies of the other one. And then the short, like you called them small, I call them, spinner, the bottom half without the arch, right? Because sometimes you want to make the triple arch work and you want to have the spinner without it.
Right.
And then there's the diamonds. There's the small diamonds that are around the outside. It's basically just, it's like a little X or whatever, but it's a diamond they call. And then the large diamonds are more towards the inside. They're like a larger diamond shape. And then the zigzag is just literally a zigzag across, but that was one of the vendors had that. And then the stars, there's like an inner and then one that's a little bit bigger. And so they're like a triple star, like exploding out. The rainbow, I think, is almost like the same as the concentric circle. It goes from the bottom out, or from.
So it looks like it goes from the top down.
The top down, right? That's right. Yeah. And then the swirls were like a real pain to create because I had to go in and just kind of create like a swirl, and I don't even know. That was, again, I don't even know that I used these, but I put them in when I was trying to duplicate what somebody else had on their stuff, thinking I would use it. Some of these I don't even use. And, but it took a long time to make it.
Oh, well, that's the challenge with doing anything with submodels. It always takes time. There is never any, whenever you're going for, like, whenever you're putting in, I mean, this is 231 pixels, right?
Yeah.
When you're putting in any amount of effort into creating a submodel, it's just a lot of work. It just is. And if you're creating all of these, well, this was generally a lot of work. I mean, just overall. So you broke it down so that you had
An inner, a middle, and outer, right? Because that was another vendor used that effect in one of his sequences, and I wanted to be able to mimic that.
mhm.
And then the spokes V was something I just added recently because I never even was aware of that vertical buffer check mark, but it changes the way it looks, and it created an effect that I was trying to get that look, and I couldn't get it. And then I realized it was because they were using a vertical buffer.
So
This is what oh, good.
I was just going to say, Scott, are you still hanging out there?
I got the explanation for this earlier.
Did you?
So I spent an hour with Jackie on Zoom trying to figure out why his models are different than others. So what vertical buffer layout does, so that in this example where it says top line 22, line 21. So if you run a single strand across it, the single strand is going to go from it's going to go out, right? Hold on. So a single strand is going to go this way. But because there's different node numbers or numbers on each line, what a vertical buffer layout will do is take it and it will render it this way. So what he does on these is he does a vertical buffer layout, because when he says it's a spinner, he's thinking this is acting as one, and then it should go to this one, and then it should go to this one. But I was telling him as sequencers, right? Most people think of like a spinner as going from the inside and out. It's like a single line going this way, single line going this way. He's treating it as it's going left to right. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just changes the way that the render order is over here.
Gotcha. Yep. This is exactly what Scott was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So kind of stacks it, and it stacks it together vertically.
Yep.
From a left to right. So yeah. So John, I don't know. Can we go in and let's see if we can tell the difference? Like, I really honestly, because I've never really used the vertical buffer on it before. What did you call that, John? Spokes V.
Sorry, the one with the V. I was muted. I was talking and you weren't hearing it.
That's how Jackie views it as a single strand should be, is it should treat it as a spinner left or right. And Jen and I were talking to him, and no, like the sequencers, right? You think it would go from the bottom out to the top.
Exactly. I would think it would go from the bottom out to the top, from the center out. So how I think it would go, and an easier way for me to show this is it would do this.
Correct.
It would go from the center out. And that's what I think.
Yeah.
But because it's a vertical buffer, the vertical buffer is going to do it each arm individually.
So I was trying to figure out certified models for some of his stuff, and what I'm just going to create separate groups, just
Separate model, yeah, separate new submodels.
Yeah, and just name it PPD and just uncheck it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. It does the same thing. I mean, because if you're going to do this, the way that you would do this would be like, I have this set up as vertical per strand. We can do this. I think it's horizontal stacked. Yeah. Oh, that's why. Because those are in the group. So it's horizontal stacked. It's doing them across all of them that are in the group.
Go back down to the other one though. And when I talked to him, because he works with these with Showstopper with Michael, and he creates some of these. And I was like, well, how do you get it to go from the inside out on hits? And he has to change the transition and change it, flip it 90 degrees.
Oh,
Or
okay, so
the
down here,
transformation.
rotate.
There you go.
Yeah, so it all depends on it all depends on, again, there's no wrong way to do something in xLights, and this is why some people are going to be a little bit more frustrated than others, because if you're used to doing one thing and you're going to say, oh, this doesn't work the right way. And that's why that's why xLights has so many options that sometimes you don't understand why. If it's not working the way you think it should, then that vertical buffer is probably we discovered the vertical buffer on something at one point or another, and we're like, this is weird. Why is this doing this? And then we found out it was a vertical buffer, and we just either unchecked it or we made a new one. And that kind of, we just did it the way that we knew that it was going to work. So
my question is on with the buffer style and the vertical buffer layout. You're using these when you go create a submodel and you set them and you forget them, and that's how it is for your submodel, as opposed to being able to change it on the fly like you do with sequencing. Am I understanding that that's the theory behind it?
The difference is how the effect is going to go over it naturally. In other words, without changing the buffer or the render style, without changing the render style, what's going to happen is it's going to only render it one specific way. Whereas the one specific way on these spokes short that are stacked is or these spokes that are stacked with layers, as opposed to individually coming up here and grabbing all of them like this and putting these all in one group. See how they're not stacked? These aren't stacked here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you went and took the time and you click vertical buffer on all of these, that would make them that would put them into a vertical buffer, but there's only one line in it. So I'm not sure it would do anything different if it were individual lines, but whenever you have all of them together in the manner like this, where each is an individual line, then that's going to change how, when you place a single strand effect on it, its natural tendency is going to be different than what you are familiar with it doing. So you'll have to change the render style to get what you previously didn't have to change your render style for.
So this is just a tool to help you build your submodel.
It's another way to think about creating submodels, correct?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And for some people, I don't know. I don't know that for me, it's like something that's necessary, but if you're a sequencer and you've known about that and you utilize that in your programming, and then all of a sudden you buy a sequence and it doesn't have that and it doesn't look anything like it, this is why it's going to look different. So let's see. This is burst. I don't understand what burst is. Maybe John knows.
I think it's the same thing as that. Like I said, some of them are duplicates.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's the other one was top in, top down. This one was in, out.
Oh, so you changed the order of it so that, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. I gotcha. You got some hearts in there. Look at that.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're really that visible, but they kind of look like hearts, but it's kind of tough to, it's as close as I could get to the hearts, and then even the fireworks and the flowers, because those were actually designed on much larger. I like the Spin Archie Elites, where they have like very dense pixels across the top.
Well, I definitely can see. I mean, just looking at like what you have here for the flowers, I can definitely see that it would work really well for like making it like a heart, if you gave yourself the space to spread out far enough that you could make a curve at the top there.
Right.
So I like that. There's some crosses. That's great for a punch. There's big crosses. Huh, look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I really wouldn't not thought about that. That would be interesting, like the spinner alert group. That would work good for that. Like you could utilize that a lot for the big crosses. That's really neat. I like that. And then you have the wigglies.
And now those are just like going across the top. That was to mimic. I think that might be, again, another thing that was on like the Spin Archie Elites that just kind of went like wavy back. One was clockwise and one was called counterclockwise. They were just opposites of each other.
Well, I mean, I think this has been rather interesting. This has been a lot of fun, actually, to kind of see different methodologies and to hear what Scott brought up earlier. I certainly did not expect to go this deep into xLights as far as submodeling goes. We're holding on to a number of people on YouTube. There's still a bunch of you out there. Hello there. Let's see. And Facebook. Hello, Facebook, by chance. I am going to pop over there on Facebook and see if there's any questions. Looking in chat. Anybody have any questions in chat? Alex, could you just use layered submodels versus individuals, rings, rays, spinners, and then you may not need a group? So you can, but you don't get the render style that allows you to activate certain things for them. So you're basically on a stacked group. Let's see if I can show you that. And I have to go find something that I'm familiar with. Let's go to new master. We'll go into the snowflake is the arms. Right. So there is no extra render styles that you can find in the snowflake or in the regular submodels for in the regular render styles for the individual model. Now, by default, this is typically what you expect whenever you put this per model default onto the groups. But whenever you put it onto the groups, you have a bunch of different options here that allow you to activate those submodels differently. Now, that doesn't mean that they're always useful or that they're different. So in this instance, they're going around and around and around. And that's, you know, that's something that you couldn't do just at the individual model level, I don't think, unless you went and did it with single line. Do you have to turn it? Yeah. Oh, that's as pixels, silly me. Yeah. So that's what you would have to do is you'd have to do that and you'd have to put it on the other one. So is it necessary? No. If you are mapping sequences, and so for example, if you're mapping a sequence that this is the way they set it up, and you want to have everything look the way that you see it set up in the sequence layout, you have to build your layout in the same manner using similar groups or similar submodels that are set up the same way or similar to it. And then you'll get the same result. But if you don't have them in a group, then mapping them directly to it will probably yield you something a little bit different. So that's probably the kind of the frustrating part of whenever you're creating these. That's why I am taking the time whenever I show you how to build a group. Select, click, drag, right click, add to existing group, or create a new group and call it a name so that you know where to apply the effects to. So that's one good point. Sorry about YouTube, because I see that somebody did ask a question. Do you have a video that explains different controllers? No, not really. We've worked with Falcon controllers. I've done videos on controllers, but not a video explaining all the differences between them. At this point, that's a massive video. That'd be a lot of work. That'd be like 3 hours long.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you show the whole house preview as a full screen? And am I not allowed to annotate?
You should be able to.
There it is. And you're going to have to help me with names of props. What is this one called?
That's the PPD wreath.
And then you also had the full. Can you move this house preview over a little bit?
There you
we
go.
go. So this one right here is the PPD wreath.
Mhm.
And then you had the big spinner that was just a solid,
Sorry.
massive.
You said this one here, yeah.
Yeah, is PPD wreath. And then you had the spinner that you had early on that was sitting over here.
Mhm.
It was just a massive amount of pixels.
Yeah, that's the mesmerizer.
Okay, so can you, if you had the mesmerizer on your display, could you do an export of the PPD wreath submodels and have them show up on the mesmerizer?
So absolutely you can, but it would be it wouldn't be reasonable to do so, because all submodels, here's the mesmerizer, right?
Yeah.
All submodels are based off of a specific pixel number. So these are pixel numbers. That's how xLights sees a submodel, as a pixel, or as we've learned today. So this is a star offset. It has these pixels in, and if I was trying to do the same kind of thing, xLights can't determine the pattern. It only determines the numbers. So you can import. You have the function to import right here. You can import submodels from a model, another file, or a custom model overlay. But if you do, you're importing the names and the numbers that are associated with it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you can do. Again, the challenge is that, so if you had, for example, you're on the mesmerizer here, right? You go in here to the submodels and you're like, there's gobs and gobs of submodels here. This is the early version. It's not the current version. This is one from years ago that I was playing with. And you took some of these numbers in. Well, some of these numbers have 11,000 or 1,100, 1,000, 952. It will import those numbers into the PPD wreath, but the PPD wreath only has 600 pixels on it. So it's not going to know what to do with the extra pixels. So it only sees it as a number.
All right.
So that was one of the reasons why we all kind of talked about certified models was, you have this massive prop, right? The mesmerizer, and what do you do with it, right? Like, it doesn't look like anything that's in the layout. And how can you map stuff from, another high density prop to that? And that's what we spent months doing, was if you use the certified model, it'll automatically take the groups from the PPD wreath and map them over to the mesmerizer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's massive amount of work. Hats off to you.
It was.
It still is. It's still a lot of work, because well, and then we have situations like tonight, like, just Scott kind of blew up everything with the addition he made like last year, like, falling behind the times or whatever. But to be able to take a submodel and turn it into an actual model and still have it as a submodel and be seen as a model, that's very, very useful. Because I know honestly, Jeff, how many things in your layout are you going to go do that to immediately? Or
Quite a few. So that was the main reason that I messaged Jackie earlier. I was like, hey, I'm trying to I put some of the exact arches, the big arches, I'm putting them on my roof. And I started trying to map stuff to it. I'm like, it's just not looking right.
Mhm.
So that's why I sat on Zoom. We were trying to figure everything out. And then that's when I figured out they have a different perception of what a spinner arm should be versus what a sequencer sees a spinner arm as. And that's, like you said earlier, is the people making the props don't sequence, right? So they do it the way that they think it's right. So, and the other thing with it is, trying to make a certified model, even the showstopper, I was never happy with how that turned out, and I couldn't figure out why. And now I know.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and every sequencer uses different things, right? Like so I was all excited because Keith added the ordered selection, double click ordered selection for submodels, and that is rather useful. However, the challenge is now that you can do a vertical buffer that could render other work to come out completely different. So that's going to be interesting to see how to play with, and then on top of that. So one of the things when I'm sequencing, it's kind of like off the cuff here, right? One of the things that we try to do here at PPD when I'm sequencing, I try to keep everything as it's not that I don't want to change things. It's that a lot of people depend on the layout to stay the same and not have a lot of massive changes to it, because the average user only opens up xLights to sequence with or to add a new prop into. And when they add a new prop into it in July or August, they forget all of the stuff that we're talking about right now, because they're not using xLights in January, February, March, April, May, June, July. They open it in August. They're like, I have to watch Clyde's video on how to import this model. I have to watch Clyde's video and I added this. I better go get the certified model. How did I do that again? They got to watch the video. And so it's getting the end user to be able to take what you've already created and then to have as little variation to what they already are used to. And adding one group or two groups or five groups is a lot to some people, especially when you're not expecting to have to add. Because there's people that are in the hobby that quite honestly they add one or two new items a year. They're not adding 10,000 pixels. They're adding one prop. They're adding maybe they're adding the mesmerizer, or maybe they're doing the grand illusion or something like that. The challenge is that if we make a lot of additions into the layout, then that person who only opens up xLights now has to spend hours trying to figure out, oh, I've got to add this group in, oh, I've got to add that group in. Now they added these submodels, and again, we can do all that, but it turns into a lot of work, especially a lot of emails, because people just will have questions, and it turns into, because we sell a number of sequences, especially during September, October, whenever people start getting, oh, I missed my sequences for the past couple months. Can you send them over? Absolutely. And then, oh, they start mapping and they're like, I'm having a problem. The more problems you have, the more emails you get. So we try to keep it very simple. And so adding new submodels, it's not that we don't want to do it. It's that we are very cautious when we do, because the end user is definitely what we look out for, because more changes means makes it a little harder for them to keep up with some certain things. There are some people that are very advanced and they can keep up with it, but there are others that, hey, I just want to open it up and I hope it does the same thing this year that it did last year, and I don't have to get stressed out again. So any other questions? I mean, we've kind of gone on now. I don't even know what time. We're on 2 hours now. And there's still a number of people hanging on. Holy cow. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. I don't see it. Any questions while I'm looking this up real quick? No, I don't see any questions on the Facebook group. Any questions out there? Anybody have anything that they, because what I want to do now is I guess we're 2 hours in. We probably ought to give everybody a break from being live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you sat through this, there's still a number of people on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Huge thank you to everybody. This was a pretty big stream. Still a number of people here in the group. If you want to jump in the Zoom room, by all means, click the link up in the description on YouTube. I'm pretty sure Rob put it in on ours. I think, yep, he put it up there. Go ahead and jump in the Zoom room. We're going to do open mic now, and we usually don't record that. There's people that like to ask questions, not be recorded. So we're going to go and jump in and do that. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate you watching. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with other people if you think it might help them. This is going to be available to watch later. So by all means, take it in if you need to look at it again. And as always, if you appreciate the things that we do, consider joining the PPD Sequence Club and supporting us through the season. We'll do 12 amazing new sequences for you, one for each and every month. This year, we're coming out with one in about a couple days. So we're excited to bring that to you. So guys, we'll catch you soon. Thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate you. So thank you. Take care, and we'll catch you soon.